Hello, my name is Rachel Jerzak, and the title of my project is Nourishing Nations, Indigenous Food Sovereignty and Youth Wellness. For a little background on my topic, the U.S. Food Sovereignty Alliance describes food sovereignty as the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food, produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agriculture systems. It puts the aspirations and needs of those who produce, distribute, and consume food at the heart of food systems and policies, rather than the demands of markets and corporations. Indigenous youth are highly impacted by the issues of colonized food systems. Their mental and physical wellness is directly under attack. A few health disparities among Indigenous youth is suicide, substance abuse, mental health issues, obesity, and diabetes. So why did I choose this topic? I chose this topic because I wanted to focus on youth. I find them to be relatable and an important group that's not usually focused on. I'm passionate about health and wellness, both mentally and physically. I feel everyone should have the right to live a healthy life, as most health disparities happen among marginalized groups. To execute my research topic, I looked at scholars that targeted the specific areas that I wanted to focus on. So looking at information from both the physical and human sides of geographical thinking, I wanted to find ways that this issue is being addressed among youth today. And to finish off, I compiled all my findings and ended on an outlooking perspective. Next, I will go over the literature that I reviewed. First is Seeding a Movement, Indigenous Food Sovereignty. Second, Framing an Indigenous Food Sovereignty Research Agenda. And third, Food for Indigenous Futures 2024. My first article is Seeding a Movement, Indigenous Food Sovereignty. This looked at Indigenous worldviews are central to environmental justice and food sovereignty. A quote, Indigenous foodways still exist as living proof of the value of Indigenous traditions, resiliency, and the powerful means of Indigenous reunification, not only bringing Indigenous communities together against settler colonial violations, but also providing a framework for living well and healing the land. The disruption of traditional food systems, cultural ties, and harm to both ecological and human health. This is the loss of a well-functioning food. So that's the loss of the nutrients in the food that we currently eat. Indigenous food sovereignty as an essential path to restoring environmental balance and cultural identity. It's viewing food not as a commodity, but as a gift, not something to profit off of, but something to eat for nutrition. And then the article goes into Maori cosmovision, and this is the idea it is a kinship-centric system wherein all community members, humans, biological beings, that's plants, animals, insects, and spiritual beings, deities such as mountains and rivers, have agency and the right to respect, nourishment, and preservation. The second article is titled Framing an Indigenous Food Sovereignty Research Agenda. This article focuses on how restoring food sovereignty can, 1, restore ecological balance. So that's the idea that ecological knowledge is a way to cultivate climate resilience, which is very present currently with our climate change situation. Second, challenge colonial systems. So the colonial food systems currently in place strip food of its nutritional value. And third, to support economic development. There is a potential that through the changing of our food systems and the nourishment of people, we're able to reduce healthcare costs and support tribal economies. And then lastly, Food for Indigenous Futures 2024. This is a youth-led initiative from the Rue Gallagher Food Sovereignty Lab at the TEK Institute. This is centered around Indigenous food sovereignty, wellness, cultural revitalization for those youth communities. It's a hands-on learning environment. There's a sharing of general Indigenous knowledge, and many youth testimonies show an increase in self-confidence, cultural pride, and a sense of purpose. After compiling, my results include that the youth benefited immensely from reconnecting with ancestral knowledge and Indigenous food practices. The testimonies from Food for Indigenous Futures show a very positive impact on these type of community projects that can and should be implemented across other areas of the U.S. Reclaiming freedom in how their food is grown, what they eat, and how they eat it is a big part of bringing back food sovereignty. Reclaiming physical and mental well-being, restoring resisting modern-day colonial systems, so not giving into how our normal food system is currently set up, and then educating non-Indigenous peoples about these disparities is shown across all three articles to be a suggestion. And these are my resources of the different papers I read and pictures included. Thank you.